The world's most powerful politician nation is the USA, and the White House is the epicenter of the US government. So, as you'd expect, it's protected at all costs. After World War II, White House security went up a notch, and as more threats arose over the decades since, the security has only been expanded. The president and his delegates are put on a pedestal, protected at all costs from any conceivable outside threat. A multi-story doomsday bunker is prepped for immediate action. Guard dogs roam the grounds and aren't afraid to bite, and a hidden missile system is ready to take down any threat. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a good reason why the White House is featured on the United States $20 bill. It's an icon of the nation and the epicenter of the country's government operation. It's also one of the largest and most complex residential buildings in the country, acting as both the home for the first family and the around-the-clock operations center for the president. With that in mind, it boasts more security features than you'd ever imagine. If your house was valued at just under $400 million, you'd protect it too. Built in 1792 under the supervision of George Washington, the 55,000 square foot White House spans 19 acres of land and comes jam-packed with 132 multi-purpose rooms and 35 bathrooms spread across 6 levels. Scattered throughout the building are 412 doors, 147 windows, 28 fireplaces, 8 staircases, and 3 elevators, each, in the eyes of the presidential security, a location for a potential threat. The need for security speaks for itself. The White House is home to the nation's leader. The president needs to be able to make critical decisions in a safe environment no matter what other war, destruction, or pandemic is happening throughout the country. Put yourself in the shoes of an imaginary attacker. If you were looking in from the outside, which White House feature would give you visual access to plan your next move? That's right, the windows. And remember, the building has 147 of them. The president's personal office, as you've undoubtedly seen in countless photos, has a mostly window-lined back wall, allowing for plenty of natural light. But of course, it also allows for others to peer in. That's why the White House windows are backed up with a second layer of ballistic glass behind the traditional windows. Jim Richards, Vice President of Total Security Solutions, has guessed that the ballistic glass is probably a level 8 glass-clad polycarbonate. Although, since none of us have access to the presidential security files, we'll never know for sure. What we do know, however, is that ballistic glass doesn't come cheap. Just 1 square foot of the protective layer goes up for $100. The windows were actually put to the test on the evening of Friday, November 11, 2011. A man from Idaho, Oscar Ortega Hernandez, allegedly fired 2 shots from a high-powered rifle toward the south face of the White House, from a car more than 2,100 feet away. While one shot went rogue and landed in the grass, the other struck a historic window. The layer of ballistic glass stopped the bullet, as per its job. Another incident occurred a few years later, in January of 2015, although this time, no damage was done and it was purely accidental. After finishing off a shift, one government employee was experimenting with his drone on the expansive White House lawn. The drone managed to fly through the airspace undetected by many security systems. However, when he landed the drone on the grass, countless alarms were triggered. The White House security went into a frenzy, but of course, it was a false alarm. This experience showcased an alarming gap in the White House security protocol. They could not guarantee spotting mid-air drones. Henceforth, they installed drones of their own, with 2 specific purposes. 1, to act as roving security cameras, and 2, to take down any other threatening drones that might come into the White House's airspace. Consumer drone companies are doing their part too, with a software feature known as geofencing. If a drone flies into a strict no-go zone, its built-in GPS will sense the boundary, and the drone will stop mid-flight. The reason that landing drone triggered the alarm was because it tripped one of the many infrared sensors that cover the White House lawns. White House sensors aren't arranged in laser-like patterns that are set off by movement. They're far more thorough and foolproof than what you typically see in a spy or a heist movie. What happens if those alarms are triggered? Be it the SWAT team on the roof, the guard dogs around the grounds, or the Secret Service at the entrance, before you know it, someone will have taken down the intruder and neutralized the threat in no time. It doesn't take long for a sensor to be tripped. The moment someone decides to jump the fence, the so-called perimeter of protection jumps into action, alerting the White House's security office of a potential danger. Although jumping the fence would be mighty difficult these days without a pogo stick, but we'll get to that a little later. Now about those cunning Secret Service agents we mentioned. There are close to 1,200 Secret Service agents posted around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, throughout not just the White House, but the embassies and diplomatic missions in Washington, D.C. However, those are only the uniformed officers. The Secret Service has 2,800 more agents which operate in plain clothes throughout the area. The Secret Service's expert tactics in both threat prevention and threat response are as important as any job in existence. Those particular agents who patrol the White House grounds are split into emergency response teams and are often hidden from the public eye, ready to pounce at any needed moment. If an alarm is triggered, rather than wait for intruders to reach their zone, they spring into action and rush to the designated area that's been breached. Armed with semi-automatic weapons, they can take down a violent intruder almost immediately. We've actually got an entire video dedicated to the Secret Service and their insane tactics. Did you know that they even have to escort the president to the bathroom? And that there's a reason why they wear such dark sunglasses? Check out that video afterward. The link is in the description. On the 17th of February, 1974, U.S. Army Private Robert K. Preston stole a Huey helicopter from Tipton Field in Maryland and landed it on the south lawn of the White House. 20 years later, in 1994, a light plane circled the Washington Monument and crashed on the White House grounds. Both of these were major breaches of security, leading to Washington, D.C. being declared as a no-fly zone. If a plane isn't following the strict landing path into Ronald Reagan National Airport, then the pilot is given a stern warning. Failure to reroute following these instructions can be fatal. Why? Because countless surface-to-air missiles are located around the Capitol, ready to pinpoint any potential aerial threat and take it down before it can get anywhere close to the White House or the president. Rumor has it that one of those missile launch pads is hidden way under the White House's famous dome. However, it's unproven, and hopefully we'll never need to know for sure. While the missile launchers, hidden Secret Service teams, and infrared sensors might not be visible to the naked eye, one security feature is about as obvious as it gets. That's right, the fence. Since it was first constructed in 1801 when President Thomas Jefferson was calling the shots, the White House fence has gone through a subtle yet important transformation. In the early days, it merely served as a barricade to keep the president's livestock on the property. If an intruder wanted to jump over it, he'd barely break a sweat. These days, it's another story. Not only is the fence topped with sharp spikes to deter would-be climbers, but it also boasts an inbuilt pressure feature that alerts White House agents the moment anyone touches it with any substantial force. Far stronger than it looks. The 11-foot-tall mesh of steel and rebar is solid enough to bring charging vehicles to a halt. Even if you could somehow manage to elude the guards and hop the fence, as we've seen, there's a slew of additional security challenges that would be even harder to overcome. One of those security challenges are the Belgian Malinois dogs which patrol the grounds. Canines have been employed since 1975 to protect the Oval Office. As cute as they appear, make no mistake, they can be vicious. The Belgian Malinois is the perfect mix of gentle and brutal. They're great with kids, but take no prisoners when going after intruders. They take off like speeding bullets to subdue suspects, reaching speeds of 30 miles an hour, and have a wide 270-degree field of vision. That's why many of these dogs are used in the military. Believe it or not, one of them was even part of the team that took down Osama bin Laden. In 2014, the dog's training was put to the test. Two loyal canines, Hurricane and Jordan, responded to an intruder and took down fence jumper Dominic Adesanya. What does it take to become a Secret Service dog? On average, Secret Service dogs typically cost $6,500 to $8,500, and they must complete 20 weeks of training with handlers before they can report for duty, and usually work in the field until about age 10 before settling down for a well-earned retirement. It might come as a surprise to learn that despite all of these wild security measures, the general public is still welcome to tour the White House. Tours are offered in 11 different languages. However, not just any Joe Schmo can walk through the front doors. For anyone wanting to explore the grounds, an application must be submitted at least 21 days before the scheduled visit. This allows the security team to perform background checks on all visitors, as well as collect accurate head counts. Of course, the tours don't explore the entire property, and they stay far away from the VIPs. Historic kings and queens employed dedicated food tasters to ensure that their meals were free from poison, and it's no different in the White House. With presidential food tasters allegedly going as far back as Ronald Reagan, the Secret Service takes the necessary precaution that every meal which they haven't seen prepared in front of their very own eyes could be a potential threat. It only takes one arsenic-doused sandwich to send the U.S. government into a tailspin. As strict as all the food supervisions are, the president, whoever it is at the time, can still go ahead and order whichever late-night craving they want for delivery. Of course, though, there's an asterisk to that. The staff order, say, a pizza to a different address, because if the delivery man or food prepper doesn't know who the meal is for, there's no reason to taint it. If catastrophe is imminent, then the White House is prepared. Beneath the picturesque North Lawn, an alleged doomsday bunker lies in waiting, ready for use at any time. According to the Washington Post reporter and Secret Service author Ronald Kessler, the facility is large enough to fit the White House workforce indefinitely, spanning at least 5 underground stories. This is rumored to have been constructed secretly in 2010, when a $376 million project was underway to improve White House electrical wiring and air conditioning. Keep in mind, however, that the White House already has the Presidential Emergency Operations Center bunker, found under the East Wing. This is where former Vice President Dick Cheney and other senior officials took refuge during 9/11.
The White House is perhaps the most famous building in the world, and it has changed a lot since President John Adams moved in 1800. Yes, America's first president, George Washington, didn't live in the White House as it hadn't been built yet. Back then, it wasn't even called the White House. It didn't gain its formal title until 1901 when it was named by President Theodore Roosevelt. The home and office of the US president was previously known as a presidential palace and then later the executive mansion. Historians estimate that it cost $232,372 to build the White House, and today, the White House is believed to be worth as much as $397.9 million. Irish-American architect James Hoban was the visionary behind the White House's classic design. He was commissioned to design the White House after winning a competition along with a $500 prize. So just how big is the White House? It's about 55,000 square feet and sits on 28 sprawling acres. The palatial presidential abode has 132 rooms and 35 bathrooms spread over 6 floors. It's not always politics at the White House. Being president is by far the most difficult job in the world and obviously very stressful. If you need proof, just look at how gray former President Barack Obama's hair turned in a mere 8 years. Thankfully, there are a lot of ways for a president to unwind. Even the most powerful person in the world needs to relax sometimes. That's why the White House is filled with plenty of fun rooms for the first family to enjoy. The basement of the White House is essentially a giant shopping center filled with numerous goods and services available to the president. There's a flower shop with a wide variety of expensive and even rare flowers. Flowers are purchased in bulk and refrigerated so they can be used later on at state dinners or as decoration around the White House. As much as $252,000 worth of flowers are purchased every year for the White House. The White House's chocolate shop is where pastry chefs make intricate desserts for the president and distinguished guests. There have been some amazing sweet treats made over the years, including a giant Easter egg and a White House made of marzipan and white chocolate. Perhaps one of the coolest rooms in the White House is the bowling alley. It features comfy sofas and custom-made bowling balls. Each bowling ball features an image of the White House and they are fittingly colored either red, white, or blue. The bowling alley is only 1 lane, but that's more than enough for the first family. The current White House bowling alley is not the original. The first bowling alley was built in 1947 on the ground floor of the West Wing as a gift to President Harry Truman. The original bowling alley no longer exists and has since been replaced by the Situation Room. Surprisingly, Truman was not particularly fond of bowling, but that's okay because his staff still got plenty of use out of the bowling alley. They even formed a bowling league at the White House. The current bowling alley was built in 1969 by President Richard Nixon and his wife Pat, who were both avid bowlers. On the 3rd floor of the White House, you'll find a state-of-the-art gym filled with weights and exercise equipment. Former First Lady Michelle Obama regularly used the workout room and was even filmed there while she was promoting her Let's Move campaign to stop childhood obesity. The 3rd floor also has a music room that was renovated by former First Lady Hillary Clinton. Before the renovation, the music room was just a sitting room, so it was a wise decision to make the update. Former President Bill Clinton spent a lot of time in the music room playing his saxophone. There have been multiple pools at the White House over the years. The White House indoor pool was built in 1933 for President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who suffered from polio. FDR would use the pool as therapy to relieve his pain. President John F. Kennedy regularly used the pool to ease his back pain, and he was even known to go hold pool parties with his female assistants. The pool remained until Nixon became president, and then the decision was made to cover it and instead build a press briefing room in its place. Since 1970, reporters have gathered in the James S. Brady Press Briefing Room to get the facts straight from the president. Instead of a swimming pool, there's now a press pool. The White House also has an outdoor pool, which was built in 1975 by President Gerald Ford. Ford considered reopening the indoor pool, but he didn't want to move the press room. Instead, Ford chose to build a large rectangular pool on the south lawn. The Clintons even added an outdoor spa. The pool also has a cabana, which was renovated in 2002, and now includes solar panels. The solar panels are used to provide hot water to the cabana and heat the pool and spa. The White House even has a home cinema where the first family can watch any movie they want, even if it's still in theaters. The White House Family Theater has 42 seats and is located in the East Wing. Former President Jimmy Carter viewed more movies in the theater than any other president. He reportedly watched 480 during his 4-year term, including All the President's Men. The game room on the 3rd floor of the White House has a pool table and an $80,000 golf simulator. The game room has existed since at least the first Bush administration. George H.W. Bush was an avid pool player, as was his wife Barbara and their son, former President George W. Bush. It's not all fun and games at the White House. The White House has a lot of important features that set it apart from other political residences around the world. The White House's medical unit is in the Eisenhower Executive Building, where presidents can receive routine checkups and be prescribed medication. If the situation is more serious, then the president has to be rushed to the hospital. There are numerous bunkers at the White House, including the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, which is located below the East Wing. It's a secure command center that was built during World War II and has been used numerous times since then, most notably during the 9/11 attacks. There are also rumors of a new secret bunker under the North Lawn that has multiple passageways in case the president needs to escape. The bunker was reportedly built during the Obama administration and would be used in case of a doomsday scenario. The White House has a lot of rooms, but some are much nicer than others. The aptly named Queen's Bedroom features a 4-poster bed and is part of a suite of rooms that includes the Queen's sitting room and the Queen's bath. The room is decorated in the federal tile, and the bed is believed to have once belonged to President Andrew Jackson. Royalty from around the world have stayed in the Queen's bedroom, including Queen Elizabeth II, who first stayed there in 1957 when she visited President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Royalty from the Netherlands, Greece, and Norway have also stayed in the Queen's bedroom. On the 2nd floor, you'll find the Lincoln bedroom, which President Abraham Lincoln once used as his office, hence the name. Close foreign allies of the president typically stay here, and the room features unique decor such as a holograph of the Gettysburg Address on the bedroom's desk. Some believe that the White House is actually haunted and that Lincoln's ghost roams the halls. Sightings of Lincoln's ghost usually occur in the Lincoln bedroom. First Lady Grace Coolidge, Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands have all claimed to have seen Lincoln's ghost. During the Obama administration, the rooms were open to the public. Guests could stay in either the Lincoln bedroom or Queen's bedroom for $400 per night, as long as reservations were made far enough in advance. The most famous room in the White House is undoubtedly the Oval Office, which serves as the president's working space. The first Oval Office was located in the old Executive Office building and was constructed by President William Howard Taft in 1909. The Oval Office burned down in 1929, and FDR decided to build a new Oval Office in the West Wing. The current Oval Office was completed in 1934 and remains there to this day. Except for the furnishings, the Oval Office has changed very little since then. The President's desk in the Oval Office is one of a kind. It's made from English oak timbers from the British Arctic exploration ship, the HMS Resolute. The desk was gifted to President Rutherford B. Hayes by Queen Victoria in 1880. The New York Historical Society built a replica of the Oval Office for $2 million. The replica is a permanent fixture on the museum's 4th floor and is modeled after the Oval Office of the Reagan administration. The Situation Room is the intelligence center of the White House. This is where the president deals with crises at home and abroad while communicating with the National Security Advisor, White House Chief of Staff, and Homeland Security Advisor. The room is soundproof and has 6 flat-screen televisions for secure video conferences. It's colloquially referred to as the woodshed, and contrary to popular belief, it is not located in an underground bunker. The Situation Room was built by JFK following the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. President Kennedy recognized there was a need for a secure room as he felt he could no longer trust some of the information he was receiving from national security advisors. The White House has had many renovations over the decades. The most significant and costly renovation occurred between 1949 and 1952 during the Truman administration. The Truman reconstruction was practically an entire rebuild of the White House. The entire interior of the White House was gutted and rebuilt at a cost of about $5.3 million. That's almost $53 million when adjusted for inflation. The reconstruction was absolutely necessary, as engineers deemed the White House unsafe and on the verge of imminent collapse. President Truman and the First Family were moved across the street until the White House was fixed. First Families are given $100,000 from Congress to redecorate and renovate the Oval Office and the White House's private quarters. However, some presidents have spent much more than that. Obama spent about $1.5 million redecorating the White House during his administration and used his own money to do so. He even declined the $100,000 redecorating budget from Congress. In 2017, the White House underwent a $3.4 million renovation that included updating the 27-year-old HVAC system, improving the IT systems, and repairing the south portico steps for the first time since the Eisenhower administration. Presidents get to choose which art is hung on the walls of the Oval Office, and most choose new rugs and curtains when they redecorate. Obama used red curtains while Clinton went with gold curtains. The White House has caught on fire many times. During the War of 1812, the British set the White House ablaze. On Christmas Eve 1929, the White House caught fire again after a blocked chimney vent or defective electrical wiring caused thousands of pamphlets in the White House attic to ignite. After each fire, extensive repairs were required.
Ordinarily, a piece of real estate is valued on two things. One, the size and location of the land, and two, the size and sophistication of the structure which sits on top. For the White House, it's all that and oh so much more. The value of this postcard-worthy residence stems from its reputation and opulence, its array of state-of-the-art rooms and features, and its claim to more square footage than any one man or woman could ever need. 55,000 to be exact. Just to put that in perspective, the average size of a Seattle rental property is a measly 711 square feet. You could have 77 Seattle condos, or you could have one giant presidential castle. Which would you choose? All up, the White House boasts a whopping 132 rooms. Let's break those down. Running a country sure works up an appetite. Thankfully, the White House has 3 kitchens, with the largest able to serve steaming hot dinners to as many as 140 people at once. There are 35 luxury bathrooms and 16 bedrooms, all of which are set up with top-of-the-line communications equipment. There's no dodgy Wi-Fi in this place, that's for sure. The president's bedroom is found here, on the southwest corner of the 2nd floor, and it comes with an adjacent sitting room and its very own dressing room. The size of the president's quarters alone rival that of entire New York or Paris apartments. From bottom to top, the entire complex spans 6 stories, not including the hidden doomsday bunkers which lay hundreds of feet underground. Most million-dollar houses across the country have 1, maybe 2 fireplaces. The White House, as a true symbol of elitism, has 28. Not to mention 3 private elevators. If that weren't extravagant enough for you, there's also a secret tunnel, one which links to the nearby Treasury building. Meanwhile, the building's 3rd floor offers a solarium for soaking in the East Coast rays, a games room, a dedicated linen room, a so-called diet kitchen, and another sitting room. Some former presidents use this one as a gym, others, well, not so much. We'll let you guess who falls into which category. Capping off the extensive list of unique rooms are a basketball court, chocolate boutique, library, flower shop, dedicated security control room, panic bunker, swimming pool, spa, putting green, and cinema, which obviously overlooks the sculpture garden. And of course, we can't forget the unbeatable view from the Truman balcony. But the exorbitant cost of this far from humble abode doesn't stem solely from its many rooms. It also comes from what lies within those rooms. Priceless memorabilia line the walls, none more expensive than the collection of presidential portraits, the oldest of which dates back to Gilbert Stuart's depiction of George Washington. This painting fetched $1,025,000 at a Dallas auction, so you can imagine how much the entire collection is worth. The entire house, in fact, the entire 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue address is decked out with impenetrable security, comprising features way more expensive than we'd ever install on our own homes. We're talking infrared sensors, surface-to-air missiles, defense drones, trained canines, bulletproof windows, 3,200 special agents, and the famous anti-climb fence, which was recently upgraded as part of a $64 million renovation to the gates and entrances. So now that we've had a peek into the layout, and let's be honest, the truly excessive nature of the White House, we've got to know, how much does this one-of-a-kind pad actually cost? Put it this way, if you were able to save $50,000 a year every single year, you'd be working tooth and nail for a sinister 7,590 years in order to afford this place. Let's grab the calculator. That's a total estimated value of, $397.9 million. Insane, right? The median house price in Washington, D.C. is $626,911, which is the 2nd most expensive state across the U.S., behind, any guesses? Yep, Hawaii. So based on those numbers, you could hold the keys to either 634 neighboring D.C. houses, or you could live in the nation's focal point. Which sounds better to you? But those figures focus on buying the place. What if we just wanted to live the high life for a couple of years and then move somewhere else? We've crunched the numbers, and it's not pretty. Renting the 132-room monstrosity at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue would set you back a tear-jerking $2.1 million every single month. Over $25 million a year. Sure, it comes with unmatched security, secret tunnels, and nuclear-proof bunkers, but for those figures, you could genuinely rent your very own private island far away from any potential threat. Case in point, Necker Island, owned by none other and British billionaire Richard Branson. To rent this entire oceanic oasis, it'll set you back $42,000 a night. That's $15.3 million a year, about $10 million less than the White House. It's an easy choice if you ask us. Regardless, if you're looking to rent or buy the presidential parlor, it's unquestionably clear that the numbers involved are enormous. But is this famous residence so expensive that it earns itself the title of being the most costly house in America? Absolutely. The White House reigns supreme, although an honorable mention needs to go to the 10-acre Chartwell estate in Bel Air, which at one point was for sale for as much as $350 million, still 50 or million shy of our main attraction. The president is the face of the nation. However, the reality is that it's an eternally tough job, and there's no way that any one person could handle it without help. In any situation, the first point of assistance is the vice president, which under the Trump administration was none other than Mike Pence. As the second in charge, Pence was both a key advisor to and a representative for the president. He also took a seat on the National Security Council and spearheaded the pandemic task force. So what does the second most powerful person in America make in a year? Compared to corporate hotshots, really not that much. A cool $230,700. One of the few people to earn more is, of course, the president himself. During Donald Trump's time in the Oval Office, he was raking in a $400,000 annual salary, plus a $50,000 expense account, a $100,000 travel allowance, and another $19,000 for leisure and entertainment, taking the total up to almost $570,000. Since 2001, all of those who came before Trump and those who will come after, including Joe Biden, will receive the same compensation. It's all set out in black and white in the Constitution under Article 2, Section 1, Clause 7, in case you were wondering. Trump actually decided to donate a quarter of his salary in 2020, an act many former presidents carried out in similar fashion. Just a heads up, guys, all the statistics and employees in this video served within 2016 and 2020. The Biden administration and those thereafter will fill these roles with different faces, but the salaries and responsibilities won't budge too much. Next up, let's take a look at the White House Chief of Staff. While the exact nature of the role varies from term to term, generally speaking, the Chief of Staff conducts both managerial and advisory duties, including supervising key employees, negotiating with Congress, physically controlling access to the Oval Office and the President, and overseeing all policy development. It's an intense, complex role, and the salary reflects exactly that. When Mark Meadows stepped in as the acting Chief of Staff, he was earning $183,000. His predecessor, Mick Mulvaney, earned even more, $203,500. Not all roles have predecessors. Peter Navarro, who was the assistant to the president for trade and manufacturing policy under Trump, was the first of his kind. His role was specifically created by Trump back in 2016. Navarro was largely responsible for advising the president on policies that would stimulate the economy and strengthen America's manufacturing industry. What's the pay for such a role? $183,000 per year, one of 22 employees who made exactly that figure. We know that there are hundreds of people, White House staff and Secret Service included, who look after the safety and demands of the president. But what about the First Lady? Who takes care of her needs? That job fell to Stephanie Grisham, the official Chief of Staff to the First Lady. She was responsible for coordinating all the employees and operations relating to Melania, including the press secretary, White House social secretary, and the chief floral designer. Any guesses as to her salary then? Exactly the same as our trade and manufacturing assistant, $183,000. Okay, moving along, a foundation of the nation's strength and economy is the National Economic Council, which works to ensure that domestic and international economic issues are adhered to and that the solutions are in line with the president's overarching goals. Basically, everything to do with money and the economy. One of the most important members of the NEC is the Deputy Director, aka the second in charge. During the Trump era, that role fell to Francis J. Brooke Jr., who earned a respectable $158,000 per year. However, as to be expected, the deputy director's income was heavily overshadowed by the director himself, Larry Kudlow. The former CNBC host raked in the familiar figure of $183,000 per year, which was about $7,000 more than his predecessor made under Barack Obama. Despite his role as National Economic Council Director, Kudlow's official title is the Assistant to the President for Economic Policy. As we swivel from money to tech, let's focus our attention on Roger L. Stone, the director of White House Information Technology, who boosted his bank balance with $168,000 per year. It was his duty to operate, maintain, and continually update all the IT infrastructure and services provided to the president – computers, networks, phones, and all that jazz. In an age where the need for cybersecurity is growing exponentially, having someone in this role is paramount. Interestingly enough, the White House's first ever IT director, David Ricordon, had previously worked as an engineering director at Facebook. So if the president doesn't update his own iPhone, does he book his own plane tickets? Nope, not a chance. The presidential party has its very own travel guru, officially titled as the Director of White House Travel Office. Up until 2020, that role fell on the shoulders of Bethany Pritchard, a woman who made $106,000 a year. The position takes care of all the travel plan, flight itineraries, and accommodation for not just the first family, but the entire cohort of White House press who accompany the officials on trips near and far. Travel is pretty obvious, though. So are economics and trade. What we often overlook are the mundane duties that go on in the background. Case in point, taking notes at meetings. This is Dominique Dansky-Bari, the director of stenography under Trump. The $98,900 role required her to manage an entire staff of official White House stenographers and ensure that the transcripts were delivered to the right people as quickly as possible. And arguably one of the more fun roles in politics, and certainly one of the least controversial, the social secretary, chosen by the First Lady, takes the reins of planning all the dazzling events and maintaining the social calendar. Under Trump and Melania, that role fell to Ricky Niceta, a highly experienced event planner who was more than happy to pocket the $168,000 for her efforts, a $50,000 increase compared to the salary of Obama's social secretary. Joining the roster next is the executive assistant to the president, in other words, the president's right-hand man or right-hand woman. When Trump was manning the Oval Office, that title belonged to Molly Michael. While the majority of executive assistant roles in the White House received less than $77,000 per year, Molly was the outlier, raking in $158,000 for her tireless efforts. Every president needs an assistant, but does every president need a calligrapher? Apparently so. Leanne Clark, the White House's chief calligrapher, makes a tidy $109,200 per year for her artistic talents writing invitations, certificates, name cards, and other visible documents. But one calligrapher is all we need, right? Wrong. In fact, the White House has 3 calligraphers, the least compensated of which still makes $84,400 per year. Is that an appropriate allocation of funds? That's a good question for our next staff member, Monica Ashar, the Ethics Council. Trump actually had 2 dedicated ethics councils on the payroll, but at $147,458, it was Ashar who earned the bigger bucks. Given the nature of the role as president, considering legal advice from an ethical standpoint is essential. Equally important is the president's reputation in the eye of the public, a reputation built off the back of the White House's dedicated content creators. Take senior videographer Samuel Brown, for example, who was tasked with filming all the most important moments of the Trump era. For carrying a hefty camera around at all times, he earned a comparatively low $80,000 per year. We've got videographers, party planners, calligraphers, economics advisors, and hundreds more White House positions that we didn't even have time for today. But all up, astoundingly, the entire staff budget comes in at, ready for this? A sizzling $714 million taxpayer dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see before you is 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, the infamous White House. President Washington oversaw the construction of the iconic landmark in the late 1700s, and it's continued to house the nation's leaders, their families, and their staff ever since. The secret bunker we'll soon see is the last line of defense. The first line, however, is that intimidating spiked fence. Before too long, its size will be doubled, with plans for a 13-foot barrier already in place. We'll enter the presidential grounds through the Northwest Appointment Gate on Pennsylvania Avenue. Come on, let's go. Here's an armed Secret Service security guard. Expect to see hundreds more of them as we move through the area. Oh, hi. Here are our entry credentials, sir. Thank you. Be careful as we walk across the north lawn. There are infrared sensors triggered by thermal signatures everywhere, so I implore you, stay off the grass. If you don't, the Belgian Malinois guard dogs will strike, not to mention one of the 1,200 soldiers patrolling the area. That's a night vision camera, and that there is a state-of-the-art defense drone. Still, these security features are nothing compared to our underground bunkers. As we enter the main building, we'll take a sharp turn and head toward the east wing, passing through the entrance hall and the cross hall. If this were an emergency situation, we'd be forcibly escorted by Secret Service agents. Beneath the White House's East Wing is the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, otherwise known as the Doomsday Bunker. We enter through a giant pair of clunky, vault-like steel doors. You hear that hiss? That's the sound of potentially contaminated air being sealed out of the safe zone. Once we've provided biometric access with fingerprint and retina scanners on this device, we'll descend 5 stories underground via the secret elevators. Take a look around. Here are the flat-screen televisions, which the president uses to stay updated with current events, and here are the satellite-connected phones, which connect with the Pentagon at the touch of a button. Oh, we've got a question. How do we know that the bunker is 1,000 feet underground? Well, the White House claims that this bunker is nuclear-proof. The most powerful American nuclear warhead can blast up to 1,000 feet deep, meaning that the presidential bunker must be at least that far below the surface. Here's the famous conference room. Recognize anything? At this long oval table sat Bush and Cheney in the aftermath of September 2001. If you don't recognize the table, you'll surely recognize the presidential seal on the wall. The Doomsday Bunker was initially built in the early 1940s for President Roosevelt. However, it's been utilized as recently as June of 2020. Let's continue, folks, because this isn't the only secret bunker. It's merely the most famous. Follow me to the second bunker. This more modern, extremely secure facility sits again deep underground, this time buried deep beneath the western side of the North Lawn. Say hello to the White House military office soldiers. These guys rotate through 12 and 24-hour shifts. Some of them are medical units, some are food staff. See those vents? This panic room is fitted with its own air supply. Plus, we've got these oxygen tanks in case of an emergency. And over here, the bunker even has its own long-lasting food supply. These gray walls might seem dull, but it's not their job to be works of art. It's their job to protect. And since they're made of thick, unbreakable concrete, they're strong enough to withstand nuclear radiation. As we continue to explore, here's all of the communication equipment in one section. And here's the bed, the kitchen, and the bathroom. Evidently, this bunker doubles as both a command center and temporary living quarters. You might be wondering, why do these bunkers and the tunnels we're about to explore need to exist in the first place? It's rather simple, really. The White House staff needs a place of refuge and evacuation should the traditional exits be compromised by biological, radiological, or nuclear attacks. Now come with me, let's show you those tunnels. This is actually a whole network of underground passages and rooms buried beneath the White House. This tunnel connects the East Wing to the West Wing. It's also rumored that an entire system of passages run all over Washington, D.C., with routes to Blair House, Camp David, and the Pentagon. The echoing tunnels are totally soundproof from the outside world. All we hear are our own footsteps. If you take this path, you'll end up in a bowling alley in the White House basement under the North Portico. If you take this one, you'll end up at the little-known presidential dentistry room. Or if you take this one, no kidding, you'll find yourself at the secret White House chocolate shop. That's weird. But we're going through another tunnel, this one right here, a 761-foot-long path which connects the East Wing to the secret basement of the adjacent Treasury Building, which was formerly a Roosevelt air raid shelter. Now join me in the elevator as we ascend back to street level. And just like that, we've managed to sneak out of the White House completely unseen. Which secret location should we tour next? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to The Richest, and have a great day. Catch you next time.